For your section 2.3 problems, we have selected 61, 81, 86, 105, and 107. Ooh, too far. All right, finding the slope of a graph. Well, make sure that when you think about the slope of a graph, you should be thinking slope at a point, right? Because slopes change if you have a function or something that's not a line, in which case you are finding the derivative. So let's find the slope of the graph. So find the derivative of the function at the given point. Use the derivative feature of a graphing to confirm your results. So here's how we do that. First, in order to find h prime of pi is what I really want to find. I really want to start by finding h prime of t. So h prime of t is going to require the quotient rule. Low d high. Too many t's going on. Minus high d low all over low squared. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find h prime of pi. So everywhere I see a t, I'm going to replace it with a pi. So this will be equal to pi secant of pi tangent of pi minus secant of pi all over pi squared. Let me fill in the rest of that. Just was trying to keep myself color-coded nicely for all of you viewers out there. Multiplied by 1. Okay, so now using my unit circle that we all know and love, I can say the secant of pi, well, that's going to be the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine is -1, so its reciprocal is -1. Tangent of pi is, this is -1, this is 0. So this whole first term is just gone. Minus, we just said secant of pi was -1. Well, minus -1 is going to become a +1 over pi squared. So that should be your final answer for h prime of pi. Now, if the question had asked for the equation of the tangent line, you would put this slope and this point together into point slope. But this time it just asks you for the slope and the slope only, so that's going to be our derivative. All right, next one, 81. Use the graphs of f and g. You guys also had to do 82, but I'm going to show you this one, and then hopefully you can transfer your knowledge. So p prime of 1. If I'm going to find p prime of 1, that's standing for the product rule, right, of 1. So p of x, p prime rather, is going to be the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. So if I want p prime of 1, that means I need f of 1 times g prime of 1 plus g of 1 times f prime of 1. All right, cool. Well, I have my functions here, f and g. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to find the easier stuff first, right? F of 1 just says in goes, let's see, 1. Out comes, f is the darker one, out comes 5. Oh. Maybe this graph is not so great. Hold on one second, I'm going to pause the video. There we go. My screenshot of this, I didn't have the x and the y-axis dark enough. So what I really want is, let's try that again, f of 1, which is 6. And then g prime of 1. Well, g prime says the slope of the tangent at 1. So here's g of 1. I just want the slope of this little line. So that looks like a -1 over 2. So -1/2 plus, the next thing I need then is g of 1. Well, that's just in goes 1, out comes 4 times the derivative of f at 1. So again, I'm going to draw a little tangent line. Counting the slope then, that looks like up 1 over 1. So times 1. Ooh, that yellow is real bright. So p prime of 1 is equal to -3 plus 4, which means that p prime of 1 is equal to 1. So I'm going to have you pause the video and try the quotient one for yourself using what we just did, and then you can come back and check. So pause the video, try it, come back. All right, so hopefully you got to -1/3. There's all my work shown. I tried to color code things the best I could. So g of 4 was that red dot at 3. F prime of 4 was that little orange slope of that line. F of 4 was equal to 7, that light pink dot. And then I got this blue color. G prime of 4 was a slope of 0. Okay, so that should help with number 82. It also should help with some stuff in section 2.4 when you get there. All right, population growth. This one I wanted to talk about because my answer key online had a small mistake to it. All right, so population of bacteria is introduced into a culture and grows. That sounds like a rate to me. According to this, where T is measured in hours, find the rate at which the population is growing when T is equal to 2. So I'm going to start by finding the rate of the change of population. So the slope of population is going to be equal to 500, because my constant multiple is just going to stay out in front. Okay. Derivative of 1 is 0, plus, this is going to require a quotient rule, low d high minus high d low all over low low. And so the mistake that came in to my answer key is that when I went to go find p prime of 2, the rate of change at 2, I just did silly math and I plugged stuff in wrong. So this should say 50 plus 4 times 4 minus 8 times 4. I think in my answer key I had like 16 times 8. So one of those do what I say, not what I do situations. And we should come out with 31.55, and that's going to be measured in bacteria, because that's what our population is measured in, and then per hour, because we have a rate of change with respect to time. P prime is population, T is time. All right, last one, and this is a lot like the ones with the 81 and 82, although we're just given information instead of a graph to find the information. Other times you'll be given a table. You'll see that in section 2.4 as well. But the process is the same. So for 105, it says I'm supposed to find f prime of 2. Well, before I can find f prime of 2, it would be wise of me to just find f prime of x. So 2 is a constant multiple. It's going to hang out. G prime of x plus h prime of x. Well, now I want f prime of 2. So I want 2 times g prime of 2 plus h prime of 2. And you might be thinking, Ms. Schwartz, do we really need to write all of this out? And my response is, better to write it out and get things correct than to not write it out and make a silly mistake somewhere. G prime of 2 is equal to -2 plus h prime of 2 is equal to 4. -2 times 2 is -4 plus 4. F prime of 2 here is going to end up being equal to 0. Okay, which means there would be a horizontal tangent line at 2 for function f. 107, drag that one down here. I'll write this one in purple. So f prime of x this time is going to be a quotient rule. Low d high minus high d low all over low low, or low squared, depending on how you want to talk about it. So that means that f prime of x, not x, we want 2, will be equal to h of 2 and g prime of 2 minus g of 2, h prime of 2, all over h of 2 squared. If I move this down, I'm not going to be able to see all the things. F prime of 2 is going to be equal to, I'm going to use my answer key, -1 times g prime of 2 is -2, minus g of 2 was 3, and h prime of 2 was 4, all over h of 2, which was -1, squared, and we get a final answer of -10. Okay, so again, you've seen one where you have to read from a graph. This was reading from equations, and eventually you'll have these types of problems where you have to read from a table. These are all the ways that the AP writers like to ask their questions. All All right, hopefully that made sense. Make sure you stop in and ask more questions if you are still foggy on anything from 2.2 or 2.3.